So while we're waiting for the steel to come in for the rear suspension sliders for the VB, I've got a little side project, which is the NH, which is a bike that is a complete bike, been running and riding it since 87, I think. As you saw at the end of the last video, I took it out and started it up, which hadn't happened in too long, and although it was running, I had a fuel leak. And the fuel leak is, we can see here, where is it? There it is. The fuel tap. This is not the standard fuel tap for this bike. It's the one that was in the same barn as the bike when I found it, and it had bits missing. So this is the one that I've always had on the bike, and it's pretty worn out. There's no fuel in the tank now. It's been drained, but you can see under here there is an adapter to fit it to the tank. So whether the original tap also needed an adapter, I don't know. I got that adapter from Dragonfly when I first restored the bike in the 80s, and so we need to investigate the leak here and see if we can renovate this tap or if it's finally given up the ghost. Pardon the background noise we have going on here because it's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. I will translate that into metric on the screen, and so we may do this in short stints because it's kind of warm out here. I've got the what's it called? Got the swamp cooler going there, and then the air conditioning unit's outside, and it's kicking on and off every so often for the house. So I'll be doing this in short stints and drinking water and coming out again. So while I'm dithering around trying to find spanners and so forth to remove this tap, which should just be a simple screw-off operation, here's some information about what tap we're looking at here. This is an Enots Concentric tap for motorcycle. These were knuckles. This is from the 1938 catalog. I believe the one I have is slightly later, some early post-war one, because it has Enots and CMC written on it. And these are fairly simple taps. They're the early versions of taps that had cork seals in them. Prior to that, they were using more of a gas seal kind of brass on brass mechanism, but these are the early taps that had cork seals, and our problem is probably the cork seal. So we're going to get this off and take a look. I've never been able to find spanners that actually fit all of the hexagons on this tap, so that's what all the dithering around is for, is trying to find something that will grip it without damaging it, because you don't have full access to all the flats from all directions. But finally, I think I went with a 17mm, which is a loose fit, and that got the thing moving. There we go. Now let's get it on the bench and see what's going on. So what we have here is brand is Enots. See that there? And it has a reserve tap on it. So you quite commonly see these with the plunger. Hexagon. So on is the hexagon, and then the round is the off, O for off. And this one has this reserve on the top, which splits the, when it's on reserve mode, this hole here lines up, and it goes all the way to the bottom of the tank. And here it does not go to it comes up to here. No, there is no filter on this at all, so that's something we probably want to fix. I don't know how filters operate on these. It may be something that just sticks on the top here, or maybe we can put an inline filter. That might be better. As you can see, there's a bunch of crud on it, so we'll see what goes on. Let's find some spanners that fit. What's this one? 3/8 Whitworth. So that's, looks like that one's a 3/8 Whitworth. That one's not, that one's bigger. Of course they may not be Whitworth at all, they may be some other. No, that one's Whitworth, see? That fits. And that's a 3/8 Whitworth there. So we can get that on there. And this is fairly chewed up because it's been on and off many times, both for me and, see, that doesn't fit that one. There we go. So what we have is this serrated circular here, which fits into a cork there, and that's supposed to provide a good seal. Problem is, if the tap is off, the fuel is only getting down to here, so this seal at the bottom here can dry out if it's set for too long, particularly in a dry climate like we're in here. So this is probably our problem. It also looks, I think I made these corks myself, so we may just have to steep it in boiling water as the traditional thing. But this only tightens up so much, so it may be that our cork is not thick enough. I've also heard that they do neoprene now for the ethanol. I think that only matters if you're using bound cork. If it's raw cork, it shouldn't matter whether there's ethanol, because after all, I think I would have made these out of wine corks, and what do you get in wine? Ethanol. So if it can keep the wine in and not degrade for 100 years, or whiskey for that matter, it can definitely work in a fuel tap without problems with ethanol fuel. See, that's not going to go on there. And this is the danger, is trying to take this off here, getting a grip on this without damaging it. There we go. So as you can see, this is the same on both sides. Not sure if it's completely symmetrical. I can measure that, but I don't think it matters. So we'll take a look at replacing the corks. Give it a good clean first, and then what else happens here? I remember, yeah, that pushes through. So this is our central barrel. That pushes onto the cork and makes a seal there, and then this is the lever that rotates this. So in theory, have we got any other seals? We have in there at the top, looks like we have a rather mangled O-ring, which probably means it wasn't meant to be there, and a dished washer. You can see that dished washer. So I need to go find, I see dishing there as well. So looks like it was supposed to have some kind of packing. Is that, see that better in the camera? I could if there was any light. Oh, there's a light button. See, does the light button work? Oh, it does. Cool. So is there more bits in there? No, that's just dirt. So I need to find a diagram somewhere so I can know which way this is supposed to go together, because the last person to have this apart was some idiot, and there's no guarantee it's put together right. So that's what we've got. We've got our various parts. This plunger here can come out, but you have to take this off the end here, and that's happened before, or it came loose. So it might be worth okay, that's enough waffling. So looking at this more closely, you can see that this cork actually has a groove in it, so we don't have a good seal all the way around, so that may be all the problem is. So maybe we could try just find a new piece of cork that goes in there. Might mean we have to drink some wine, but hey, they make wine here, so I'm sure we can find some cork somewhere. Okay, so this cork, the top cork, was not leaking, and it looks complete, and I know it's not that old because I put it in there. So we'll just leave that one as it is, and we'll take out this other one and make a new one. Now you can see the mechanism, it's very simple. It's a flat plate with a hole in it that slides. There's no guarantee that this measurement is correct, but we're looking at 1/8 of an inch and a bit. So we need a source of cork. And the inside diameter here is 1/2 inch, 0.51. Yeah, it would be point. Yeah, so it's basically 1/2 inch diameter. And that cork was 1/8 of an inch deep. Now this here, we want this to screw all the way in. We have a depth on this of approximately 1/8 of an inch, 0.13, and our depth here is a smidge over 0.25. So we're looking at the cork when it's crushed is going to be 1/8 of an inch, and we can have 1/8 of an inch crush. So we probably want to make it 3/16. So found a source of cork. Should be alcohol proof, and we'll find a Now this cork looks like it's made up of little granules, so it may not be any good. Not sure if you want to have original cork. This has, well, it definitely doesn't have an alcohol based binder in it. So we'll see how it goes. Where are we at? So that will crush down to our 0.125. So piece of 0.5 stock. more or less round. Goes in the hole. And we should be able to screw this back in. There we go. Should give us a good seal. So it's too tight, won't be able to actually move the thing, but it moves. Now, we didn't drill the hole, but that should mark it for us. There's that one that we have no wrench for. And that more or less makes the hole for us, because it acts as a punch. Just need to clean it out with a drill. So number 30 drill, which is 128. So again, this is probably an 1/8 inch hole. It's not quite going through. So let's get the 1/8 inch for number 31, which is a little bit smaller. There we go. That goes all the way through. So that should be fine. That cork, because it was in the drum buoy, was already, it wasn't dried out, so that should just work. And as I say, I'm a little concerned the cork seems to be pressed from granules, but whatever they've stuck it together with is alcohol resistant, so it's probably gasoline resistant too. So let's lose all these little bits of crap. Take a look at this seal here. So this is the top seal. How does this go together? So this is our shaft, which lives inside this module, and then at the top we have a cupped area at the top there, and we have a cupped washer, and we need this to go in between the two. So that sits on there, and it goes in, well, sits on there and it goes in there, and by being pressed up by the cork on this side, it makes a seal against the top to stop the gas from getting down the side here. So we'll find a new O-ring for that and stick that in there. O-ring may not have been the original thing. It may have been, I don't know, whatever they use in the steam engine valves at that time. Who knows? So I'm going to skip through this next part where I figure out that I don't have the right size O-ring. So I'll need to go find one of those. At the moment I've put the old one back in. And I also decided to replace the other cork because it didn't have any squish left in it. And then I just leave it in a jar of old fuel, because I don't have any new fuel lying around, to keep it moist until it's ready to go back in the bike. So we need a new O-ring, and we probably want to put it in some clean gas, not in some horrible old stuff. But that's all for this week. Sorry it's been a bit disjointed, but it's kind of warm out there. And hopefully I will have my new steel for the suspension and get some machining in next week. Thanks for watching, thanks for putting up with me, and thanks for helping.